talk more about collapse. So what is from your research, Dmitry? What is the recipe of collapse?
I thought I had one, and I wrote the book, The 5 Stages of Collapse, where I thought I set it all up. But the thing is, when you study society, this is a problem with soft disciplines like sociology in general, is that you never want to study something that knows you're studying it. So if you study rocks and trees, they have no idea you're studying them. They're not going to read your books. They're not going to figure, oh, well, I'm going to do something different next time. But if you write a book on collapse and say exactly who's going to be collapsing and how, you can be pretty sure that they're going to be trying something different. So basically, the American collapse as it's proceeding now is the Soviet collapse pretty much stood on its head. So the way it went in the USSR is financial collapse pretty much came first. The entire system of supplying goods for money pretty much ran out of goods and started running out of money, at least in terms of foreign currency, which it was using to import a lot of stuff. And then commercial collapse with enterprises not really being able to produce came next, especially as these newly founded independent republics started neglecting the overall infrastructure of the country in terms of trade relationships. And then political collapse came next. And social and cultural collapse never ran their course because Russian society and culture turned out to be rather indestructible. So in the United States, you have the exact opposite, where society is now divided into warring camps, where people just basically repeat these insane mantras about Russian meddling or the evils of Trump or some other ridiculous thing, and they can't. They're all talking past each other, and they're all worked up over nothing because there's nothing they can constructively do about any of it. But it's basically just complete disunity at the point of just war, civil war. And then culture. Well, what is American culture at this point? The Hollywood is losing. Hollywood was one of those big, pillars of American culture. Well, what is it now? China is pretty far ahead in terms of film production and revenues. India is still doing pretty well. Russia is up and coming. Europe is sort of holding its own, although it's unclear how much more movies about gay people the world can take. It's not a selling product, and the Europeans have to realize that. Gay doesn't sell. So where's Hollywood? Well, nowhere. It's pretty much gone. It's shut down. So what other sorts of American culture do we have that's worth mentioning? Well, there's still some good bands, right? That's about it. That's all that's left. Some pretty good bands. Not as good as before, but still, okay, some of them. So you hear a lot of American music still on the radio wherever you go in the world, but that's it. That's pretty much it. So that's where we stand. Is social and cultural America is gone, wrecked. Politically, well, what we saw the election, we saw how well that went, right? That's political collapse for you. Commercial collapse, well, the U.S. Industrial production has been going down, and that's no different from, say, Germany. Germany, I think, has been going down for 28 months now. I think it's down 8% over the past 3 years. And that's the trend. So commercial collapse is happening. And then financial collapse is magic because it is happening, and yet it is not happening. Because debt is no longer something that needs to be repaid. You just redefine debt as something you endlessly roll over by borrowing more money at 0%. They even talked about negative interest rates, but see, negative interest rates put you in a different universe where laws of physics and logic do not apply. It's a world where sheep eat wolves and things like that. And things just don't work in that world. So interest rates are stuck at zero, but the moment they go up the tiniest bit because of some loss of confidence or some shock, or because oil prices shoot up or something like that, then we're in a hyperinflationary world. And I've been actually working out the mechanics of hyperinflation, given all of the new technology we have. Because if you pay with paper money, then hyperinflation is a problem. But if you pay by waving your smartphone around, hyperinflation is okay, because you don't have to print new money. It's just digits. So I've been working out the mechanics of that. Hyperinflation seems pretty serviceable at this point. So I think it's possible to keep this collapse, non-collapse thing going for quite a while.
So yeah, so actually you have studied collapse according to 5 axes. So the financial, the commerce or economic, the political, the social, and the cultural. So in the case of the US, yeah, the financial thing is I mean, it's the collapse is happening clearly, but it will take a very long time. Probably because well, first of all, the dollar is still seen as the world reserve currency, and probably most people don't. It will take them a lot of time, and probably some shocking events before they realize that this given is not true anymore. Then you have the political collapse. I think it's happening also with the Capitol riots, because that was shocking apparently for Yankees, for U.S. citizens. But I mean, it was waiting to happen. I'm not an expert in U.S. affairs, but I've been saying for years that all these veterans, which were completely broken and mentally destroyed in these wars they have been sent to, when they come back broken to the US, they know only one thing: it's the thrill of the war. They only know that, and of course they were going to reproduce it from inside the US. And I think this was just, I don't know what your opinion is, but I think the Capitol riots were just a rehearsal of something bigger. What do you think?
Well, I don't think the Capitol riots were riots at all. I think that it was more of a kind of a photo op with some sacrificial lambs being sacrificed. It was not a revolution. I mean, come on. Anybody who saw the footage from inside the Capitol knows that it was just a bunch of bozos running around. Were they about to like form a government or something, take over the reins of power? No. I think the interesting thing there was the reaction. Basically, the people who were in the Capitol, they declared just how feeble they are for all to see, how afraid they are, how little it takes to scare them.
And there were a lot of prayers said today, not only on Capitol Hill, but across America for the state of our.
And that
everybody stay down, shouts a member of Congress inside the hallowed halls of our United States.
That this thing is in a completely precarious state, and that it would take just basically one wrong move on somebody's part for the whole thing, the whole house of cards, to fall apart. So that's the significant part, not the riots themselves, but the reaction to the riots, or the overreaction, and how enfeebled the entire power structure has become.
Don't you think still this event has triggered something in the minds of all these bozos, as you say, but bozos who can buy weapons at the Walmart or any other convenience store next to them? Don't you think it has triggered something inside the mind of these people who count in millions, I think, in the US, if not tens of millions, yeah, it will lead them to organize for something much bigger, knowing that Trumpism is a thing now, isn't it? There is such a thing as Trumpism. At least that's what we hear from outside the US. What do you think?
Oh, it definitely does exist. There's a a lot of people in the US who still believe that it's somehow possible to reconstitute the United States of their nostalgic dreams. They believe that it's possible to, say, bring industrial production back to the United States without giving up their house and their car and going to live in a barrack next to the factory and getting one bowl of porridge a day and having 2 suits of clothing, one for going to work and one for not going to work, and having their children, should they still manage to make any, brought up by the state in some kind of basically not brought up within the family because the family is too busy working 12 hours a day at the factory. People don't realize what the rest of the world has gone through to make these cheap products available to the American consumer. They think that they can provide for themselves. Well, they've been living beyond their means for generations now. They've lost all capacity to provide for themselves. The idea that they can suddenly start doing that is outlandish. And that, considering that half of them can't read and write, the level of illiteracy and innumeracy in the United States hovers around 50%. Also around 50% is obesity. You can't make obese people work like non-obese people. Like you can't tell an obese person to go unload a truck. Their knees will fail. First of all, that's the first thing to go, and they won't be able to stand up. So all of those things make Trump's great new America kind of just like a nostalgic dream. So you have roughly half the population of the US wallowing in nostalgia, thanks to Trump, who is just a demagogue. He knows he's smart enough to know that this is impossible. This is just his way of claiming his share of political power. In terms of your point about everybody having small arms, pistols and rifles, and semi-automatic weapons. Well, okay, the other side has helicopter gunships, it has tanks, it has armored personnel carriers, it has machine guns, it has grenade launchers, mortars, okay? It has artillery, it has rockets.
But it's still the recipe for civil war, right?
Well, it's just that all you have to do is set an example. So a bunch of people with their small arms, their pistols and their rifles, decide that they're the law, and then the real law shows up and blows them up right on camera, and then everybody's shown that footage. It's like, here's what happens when you go up against the Army, the Navy, and the Air Force with your pistols. And then everybody else is like, oh, okay, well, maybe I won't do that. And things calm down. So I think there will be an episode like that, to be sure, where there will be an armed uprising, and those who take part in it will be made to look just absolutely ridiculous, just beyond stupid. And then everybody will look the other way and pretend it didn't happen.
Exactly. Denial is a very, very big aspect of these failing societies. Just something you were saying earlier, which is a very good point about Trumpism. All these people who pretend that reindustrializing the US or Europe, by the way, it's exactly the same thing, that it will give them back their good jobs, their good old jobs, good paying jobs, but they will still be keeping the same privileges, because it is privileges that they have acquired at the expense of everybody else around the world. This is just I don't know if it's denial or hypocrisy or cynicism, but it's exactly the same thing we see in France. I see it with the Gilets jaunes, the yellow vests. They have sided with the bourgeoisie to invade and plunder the rest of the world in exchange for crumbs, and now they are taken to the streets because they have less crumbs. This is their problem, I don't know if you see these things this way a little bit, Dmitry, about Western societies, having basically made a deal with the devil. And of course, you always lose at the end when you make a deal with the devil. And I think now we are reaching this moment where they are feeling the heat. But they are still trying to fight this reality. What do you think?
Well, I think that the opposition that exists in Europe now is basically allowed to exist to a very limited extent. I'm not sure what sort of subterfuge underlies the persistence of the Gilets jaunes, but I think it has to do a lot with the idea that France can be its own independent actor within NATO. France always had this image of itself. It's like, well, we're not really part of the program. We make our own waves. We have our own couple of nuclear warheads. Yeah, exceptionalism. So this is an effort to rein in French exceptionalism to a very large extent. Macron thought that he was like the new emperor or something like that he and Merkel could run the world. He had this notion in his head. Well, this was a way of erasing that notion, of disabusing him of that notion. I think that if people in Washington thought that this Gilets jaunes thing had to be done away with, it would stop.
Absolutely. By the way, I don't know if you remember, there was this video. I think it was the G20 summit. Yeah, Macron thinks of himself, or likes to project the idea that he is the all-powerful modern emperor of the glorious nation of France. But at this G20 summit, when the presidents and prime ministers were present, when they gathered for the picture, to take the picture in front of the media, you had Macron looking for Trump, where was Trump? And when he spotted him, he slid towards him step by step, just to take the picture next to Trump. And it was really pathetic. And I think it revealed that actually Macron has a huge inferiority complex towards the US, just like the rest of France, mostly. Don't forget that the US has liberated France from itself, mostly, really, because France was very happy to collaborate with the Nazis. Oh, can you say this story, this hilarious story? I thought in your first book, you were going on a road trip with your friends, and there was very long queues at the gas stations, and yeah, how did you get gas to go on this very long road trip?
Oh yeah, that was a period of time when there was money but very little to buy with it, because there was a shortage of product. There wasn't really a shortage of money. So people didn't want to part with gasoline for money. They wanted something else instead. But it was still sort of the dry law, the semi-dry law that Gorbachev put in place, where you could only get vodka for special occasions. And we happened to have had a death in the family, so we got a funeral's worth of vodka coupons, which we redeemed. Put the box of vodka in the trunk of the car. And then as we needed gasoline, we would exchange vodka for gasoline. So vodka was the currency with which we paid for gasoline. And that's something that can happen where, the government thinks that printing money creates value, whereas what creates value is the ability to produce and deliver product.